How's it going, everyone? I decided to make a video to talk about Fallout 76 and the fact that, well, I think it's a good game, but I think Bethesda has done a terrible job in handling the game. So, first few things I want to talk about is the game itself, and then I'll talk about what I think Bethesda has done wrong in handling everything about this game. Actually, first of all, you notice I'm not playing Fallout 76. That's because Fallout 76 is down, which is bad. So it is November 19th at about noon. So a few days after launch, the game is down. Now, it is Monday, the Monday that the first patch is supposed to come out, which it did come out, and it is loaded onto my system. So I don't know if there's an issue with the patch, if it's just my system that won't connect to the servers, but if I go on Fallout 76, there's a message that just says, servers are down for maintenance. Please follow Bethesda on Twitter for updates, which is ridiculous. So that's bad handling. I know I said I was going to go into the game first, but I had to mention why I'm playing Fallout 3 here. I'm actually playing Tale of Two Wastelands, so it's 3 and New Vegas, but I'm in the world of 3 right now. See, there's Paradise Falls over there. Oh, look, there's a sign for Paradise Falls right there. Oh, crap. Ants. Well, anyway, so about the game itself. I've seen a ton of people hating on the game, and I think a lot of their criticisms are, I don't want to say unfounded, but I don't agree with their criticisms, with a lot of the criticisms of the game itself. Some of them, I will just say I haven't seen what people are complaining about. Like, that would be in the performance area. People have been saying it's unstable, and it's crashing like crazy, and they can't do anything without a quest breaking, and I haven't seen that at all. And I have about 35 hours in the game now, so I would think that if there were performance problems, I would have seen something by now. I seriously haven't seen, like, a single performance problem whatsoever. Now, granted, I am playing it on a PC, and, like, it's a decent PC. I have a GTX 1060 and an i7 Intel processor and stuff. So it's not like I'm not running on a piece of garbage, but I haven't seen any problems. Now, I am not surprised that there are problems on PS4 and Xbox, if there are problems on there, because I had Fallout 4 for Xbox, and Fallout 4 was virtually unplayable on Xbox. It was actually pretty ridiculous. Oh man, I have a ridiculous amount of crap in my inventory. Yeah. So if you went into the downtown Boston in Fallout 4 on a regular Xbox, the game would just, like, crash all the time. On vanilla Fallout 4, like, without putting any mods in, it would just constantly crash, and it was totally unstable, and that, in my opinion, was absolutely unacceptable on Bethesda's part to release a game in that state. Like, and also, they never fixed it. They put out updates all the time, and they never fix it. So, yeah. I'm not surprised that it runs poorly on consoles, because Fallout 4 ran poorly on consoles, and 76 is just a modified version of Fallout 4, so... And Bethesda never fixed the issues with Fallout 4, so I'm not surprised that 76 runs bad. It's just... I mean, that's not an excuse for Bethesda. I mean, it is not acceptable that they're releasing games that are not stable, but that's just the reality. But anyway, but on PC, I mean, I guess just buy it on PC, because PC it's fine. And maybe PCs had issues too, but I just personally haven't had any issues whatsoever on PC. Like, It has been 100% stable. In fact, it's probably the most stable Bethesda game I've ever played. Now, that's not saying a whole lot, because Bethesda games are usually horribly unstable, but it is probably the most stable Bethesda game I've ever played. Now, in terms of how fun it is to play the game, I think it's very fun. I have gotten like really into it. I've only played by myself so far too, so it's not like you have to play it with friends. I don't think that that's the case either. I think it's a fine. If you want to play it single player, that is 100% fine. Yeah. So what the game consists of, basically, if you haven't played 76, it's like playing Fallout 4, except for there's no story quest, essentially. But there is a lot of lore, like an absolutely ridiculous amount of lore. Way more than Fallout 4 had, way more than really any other Bethesda game I played has. Like, if you read through the terminal entries and stuff and do all that kind of what normally is a side quest kind of stuff in Bethesda game, not even really quests, just like side things to do. That is extremely interesting. And see, I've always found that stuff very interesting in games. Like in the first Mass Effect, I went around and collected all of that data stuff to learn about all the different alien races and crap. And I read all of the entries like individually. Same thing with Knights of the Old Republic. They had a lot of that kind of stuff in there. And I've always liked that in games. So I always just read that anyway. So I guess maybe that's why I get really into 76. Also, before 76 came out, I thought the game was going to be absolute garbage, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And I wasn't even going to buy the game until I saw some gameplay of it, and then I decided to buy it. There are some things that I think very much in gameplay need to be fixed in 76. The shop systems, like the vendors, that needs to be fixed. That is super broken in not like a stability way, although it might be. I'm not actually 100% sure. They seem like they almost never reset. Like the vendors, what they have, well, their caps don't. What they have in their inventory does. I don't know if that's on purpose or if that's just buggy or what it is, but the caps don't reset often. And then also, I don't know if this is a feature or a bug, so maybe this is like bug problems that I just didn't realize. But I assumed that these were features, and just features that I think are dumb. That's what I assumed was the case.
Oh, no.
But the vendors their caps deplete from me selling them stuff, and then they seem like they just take forever to come back, and they don't, like if I log out of the world and log back in, I tried doing that to try to like game the system a little bit. And I even logged out of the world and waited a while and then came back later, and they still weren't filled back up. So the vendors, when I sell them or when I buy things from them, say I buy something that costs 100 caps. You would think, I bought it for 100 caps, so the vendor should have 100 caps now. Nope. Vendor gets 25 caps. It's a quarter of what it should have been. And it always is. And I don't know why that is, but I think that's absolutely terrible, because if I have a ton of stuff in my inventory and I want to go buy a bunch of stuff from a vendor, I have to sell things to them until they're out of caps, and then buy stuff from them to get some caps back, but they only get a few caps back. And you can't sell things, you can't directly trade value like you could in previous Fallout games. Like in this game, you set what you want to trade, and then you don't even have to have caps to actually trade it. You can just directly trade for value. But you can't do that in 76. Like, everything has to be a caps transaction, and then there isn't enough caps to do the transactions. And not only that, there's diminishing returns on the caps. And I really wish I was in, 70. I really wish 76 was live right now so I could actually show you this. But it really is just a terrible system. And there's only certain things you can sell to vendors as well. Like, you can sell them any junk that's not broken down. But if you break stuff down into scrap, you can only sell them scrap that's considered more valuable. Like, you can sell them nuclear material, or I think, like, lead, but you can't sell them, like, steel or wood. Like, at all. It doesn't even give you, like, a value of 0. It just doesn't even give you an option to sell it. And the same thing for any ammunition. You can't sell any ammunition. I don't think you can sell... You can sell aid, but they really need to fix that. Like, and you can't break down ammunition. But you can make ammunition, which it makes no sense. Like, if I say I have a bunch of 10 mil, which I did in my playthrough, and I had like 1,000 rounds of 10 mil, and I was just carrying it on my person, because you can't put it anywhere either. Like, I can't put it in a camp. So, well, I can put it in my camp, but my camp has weight, and I reserve that for the actual junk, so I can build stuff in my camp. So I don't put any ammunition in my camp. So I just carry it on me. And I had like 10,000, or no, I had 1,000 rounds of 10 millimeter, which is a lot of rounds of ammunition to have in that game. And I didn't have a 10 millimeter gun that I use, and I couldn't break it down to turn it into other forms of ammunition, and I couldn't sell it at the vendor. So what I eventually did is I just waited till I found a 10 millimeter SMG, and then I just used it until I was out of ammo, and then threw out the SMG. Like, that's like the only way that makes any sense to play the game, which is dumb, in my opinion. Like, because I built my character to be a pistol character. And a 10 millimeter pistol, when it's semi-automatic, it doesn't use enough ammunition to actually use up all the ammo that I'm trying to get rid of. Like, I use bolt-action pistols and revolvers. So, both of them are very, you know, very conservative on ammo. And I do that on purpose so I don't have to carry a lot of ammo around with me. Like, in Fallout 4, that was like my play style. That's what I always did, because I played in survival mode. I would have very limited carry weight. So I would collect all ammo I found, and then go to vendors, and then sell the extra ammo of the types that I don't use, and then keep a few of the type that I do use. And since I use bolt-action rifles with good accuracy, I don't have to use a lot of ammunition. Like, I'm efficient with my ammunition, so then I don't have a lot of carry weight all the time. But in 76, you can't even do... You just have to shoot everything. Any ammunition you get, you have to shoot or just throw it on the ground. I suppose you could trade it with other players, but other players also had the same problem. They have a ridiculous amount of ammunition that they can't do anything with. So it's not even valuable to anybody. But they just need to fix that stuff about the vendors. And those are my only complaints about the entire game. Honestly. I don't have any problem with the way NPCs work. I think it's fine. They don't need to have a voice well, obviously not voice protagonist. Everybody hated that in Fallout 4. So I'm glad they didn't bring that. But also just... They don't need to have NPCs around to tell stories. There is lore like crazy. In terminals and stuff, you go around and read all that. People that say that that's not good enough, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like you just can't be satisfied if you don't think that's good enough. I mean, those are the best stories that have ever been in Bethesda games, are the terminal stories and stuff. They're way better. The main stories of, like, Fallout 3, for example, main story was terrible. Same with Fallout 4. Like, they've always been bad. They didn't tell good stories through NPCs anyway, so I don't know why people even care about it. I know that's not much of a defense. That they're always bad, so why do you care if it exists? But that's the way I feel about it. And also, I think one of the other reasons I don't mind Fallout 76 as much as other people is my expectations were extremely low. I thought the game was going to be absolute garbage. And it actually isn't that bad. It's basically the same. You do the same stuff you did in Fallout 4. You go around, you go through dungeons, you kill things, you loot their bodies, you loot all the stuff you can find, you bring it back to your camp, and you build stuff with it. That is all the game is, basically. And then you continually level up your character. Speaking of which, I actually really do like the level up system. It is a little wonky, but I think they did a good job with it, even so. Because every level, I feel like I immediately I feel like I need to level up again, which I mean that does make it feel super grindy, and people don't like that. They want to feel more of a sense of accomplishment, but it draws me into the game more because I always just want to keep, you know, going through dungeons, leveling up so I can get the next level, so I can get the next perk card, so I can build the character the way I want to. And that's basically, I mean, that's the loop they were going for, I think, and I think it's fun. It's fun to do that. And obviously the crashing on consoles, I mean, I play on PC, so I don't have that problem, but yeah, that is a problem, and that needs to be addressed. But other than that, I don't have a problem with the game itself. I do have a problem with Bethesda, though. They have handled this game terribly. I mean, right from the announcement, they showed it. They said nothing about the game in the beginning. They made it look like it was going to be, you know, the next Fallout single-player experience, and then it wasn't, and then they dropped online on people without really telling anybody, and then their communication with how everything was going to work was terrible. And they handled the beta like crap. Like, the beta wasn't even really a beta. It was just basically, it was a way to convince people to pre-order the game. That's all it was. Because the beta was just the game a few days early. That's all it was. So it's basically like, you get to play the game early if you pre-order. So that was bullshit. Also, the Atom Store, I don't really have a problem with it because everything in the Atom Store is cosmetic. So, I mean, they're better than some other, you know, AAA developers in that sense. But that's not, like, saying a whole lot. There's stuff in the Atom Store that's like, one piece of in-game clothing costs like $5 or $6. That is ridiculous. Like, that's absolutely insane. But that's unrelated to Fallout 76 itself, so I don't think the game should get criticism for that. Bethesda as a company should 100% be criticized. But additionally, I think they could have avoided almost all of the backlash that they got. I mean, in hindsight is 2020. They might even agree with this if they thought about it now and talked about it. But they should have handled this the way that Rockstar handled Grand Theft Auto Online. Or maybe not even the exact way that they did it, because Grand Theft Auto Online, you just got it with Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, you just had it automatically. And so maybe it's not like a perfect analogy. Bethesda obviously still would have sold the game, but they could have sold it for like, you know, a $40 expansion to Fallout 4. And I'm sure they still would have made plenty of money to cover the cost of the game and the cost of development. Plus, they have the microtransactions that are ridiculously overpriced, which I have seen people buying. So they're definitely still making money on that too. So, yeah, they should have just made it. They should have just done that. They should have just called it a DLC to Fallout 4, and that would have solved everybody's issues. Realistically, people would have had nothing to complain about. I mean, people still would have complained about it, but it would have been. This is just an expansion. So you can't, there wouldn't be it shouldn't be a $60 game complaints, which I think that's an unfounded argument anyway. It shouldn't be a $60 game. Of course it has to be a $60 game. They put a ton, you know how much development goes into actually making the game work online and setting up servers and stuff? That's really expensive. So obviously it's going to be a $60 game. It doesn't matter if you don't like the content that's in the game. It was a lot of work went into it. They can't just make that work go away. Like, they can't make the cost go away, I mean. So they have to charge for it. And they have to charge, you know, regular price. But the where they could have handled it better is they could have just made it an expansion. And really, they could have just done all of their PR better. They could have been more transparent about what was going on. Because if you compare it to even Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Online, everybody knew it was going to be an online game, and it was going to be unrelated to regular BGS stuff, and it was just going to be something fun to do in the universe of Elder Scrolls, but not actually related directly to any of the Elder Scrolls games. And people knew that from the get-go, and people, I mean, it didn't do well on launch, Elder Scrolls Online. They actually launched it as a, full-price game, then they made it free-to-play, then they released some more versions of it that are pay-to-play. So, yeah. I don't know, they did really... Oh, no, it wasn't they made it free-to-play, they just made it... Originally, Elder Scrolls Online, I think it was a $60 game, and then you had to pay $15 a month to play it. Or something like that. Maybe it wasn't 15, but it was more than zero. So you had to buy the game, and then you had to pay a subscription, which was crazy. I think, and then they dropped the subscription, but they didn't drop the price of the game. Or maybe they didn't have the price of the game to begin with, but then they implemented a price of the game. But the launch of Elder Scrolls Online was extremely rocky too, and they turned that around fairly easily. So I think they can do the same with 76. But in my opinion, 76 is what I wanted Elder Scrolls Online to be to begin with. I just wanted a in Bethesda universe multiplayer game that played like it felt like you were playing a Bethesda game, except for it was multiplayer, so you could play with your friends. And that's exactly what Fallout 76 is. I don't understand why people have the problems that they're having with it. And I don't understand people being surprised by what the game is, either. Everybody seems to be, they're pretending they're caught off guard. It's like, okay, you had a right to be caught off guard around E3 in June. I was caught off guard. I was super pissed about the game and everything that they were doing. But by the time release came around, like, this is not the time to be bitching about the game. In my opinion, the game is way better than it should have been, based on everything that they've done. I think they did respond to criticism that they got pre-beta and then during the beta. Actually, I mean, they didn't change anything from the beta, so it's exactly the same as the beta, but I think there was originally supposed to be no vendors, and then they added the vendors, so, like I said, they need to improve the vendors, but, yeah. So the criticisms of Fallout 76, I don't think are most of them I don't think are very good criticisms. But the criticisms of Bethesda are pretty much, yeah, spot on. They're overreaching in their and they're treating customers not great. They're basically trying to milk money out of people rather than actually give people the product that the consumers want, which I think being surprised by that, I think, is naive. But I understand being mad about it. But you shouldn't be surprised. You shouldn't be surprised that a company that finally has a large enough platform that they have the opportunity that they can screw over their customers, you shouldn't be surprised that they use their opportunity to screw over their customers. Of course they're going to do that. You have every right, and you should be mad about it, but you should not be surprised. And one last thing that I think Bethesda should do with this game that they haven't done is they should take your profile and allow you to use it on whatever console you want to. Now, I'm not saying crossplay, because I know that they were having issues with that earlier, although there was talk that it may get resolved now that Sony is being nicer about it. But I'm not even saying crossplay. I'm saying you can only play on the same console as other people are playing on, like the same kind. But you should be able to transfer your profile between them, so that, say, I want to play on PC with my PC friends one day, and then a different day I want to play the same profile with my friends on Xbox, I can do that. Which, that seems like it would be pretty easy for Bethesda to do, considering your saves are on Bethesda.net anyway. So and you have to log in to play the game anyway. And also, it would help Bethesda from a business standpoint, because people like me would buy 2 copies of the game. Because if I can do that, I'll totally buy an Xbox copy, like, right away, because I want to play with my friend on Xbox, and I can't right now. So that's one more thing that I think that they should do. But yeah, other than that, well, there is nothing other than that. That's all I had to say about Bethesda. So I don't. If you guys disagree with my leniency towards Bethesda, well, at least towards this game, I don't think Bethesda itself really deserves any leniency. But I think Fallout 76 is a good game, and it's a lot better than people are giving it credit for. So, if you have any disagreements or anything, leave them down below. Otherwise, see you next time.